Good evening. Today is Monday, the 7th or the 8th of July. It is Track Mania. It is the height of the Junior Olympic track season, and I have the privilege here of talking to Mr. Track and Field Head himself, Tony Dunning. Tony Dunning, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. You say it's the height of the season, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Well, so this is the first year in Region 4 for us, so I'm going to get the lowdown and the skinny. I was down there Saturday, obviously, had a couple athletes, had two athletes move on to the Nationals, and it's always about moving on. Live to fight another day. So, Tony, what was that first year down in Region 4? Did we set it off, or what did we do?
Well, just some quick background. Florida has been their region within themselves. So they would run their association meet and go straight to the JOs from there. So this was something very new for them to have other states come in and compete for spots for the JOs. Georgia and South Carolina was put there this year, and we've been able to come down. We're used to going to the region meet, so it wasn't a great big deal for us to go down to Florida. Just being down in Orlando on the 4th of July weekend leaves your pockets like rabbit ears. But I think a pretty good meet. We're a little spoiled in Georgia. We got a lot of some great facilities and a lot of great officials and everything going on here in the state of Georgia. So we're a little spoiled, so we acted a little bit spoiled down there. But bottom line, we got the meet in, the meet got done, and a lot of people qualified for nationals.
So we move on. So that's the name of the game, and obviously I think we set the tempo. From what I saw a lot of Georgia athletes taking those first 5 slots, which guarantee you your spot in the Nationals. So any big performances this weekend?
We had a couple of big performances. Michael Abernathy went 48 in the 15-16 boys 400. That was pretty big. Alan Fry went 52 in the 400 hurdles. We had a couple of guys go 54 in the 16 age group in the 400 hurdle. But probably the highlight of the meet came down to the 10-year-old boys and 13, 14-year-old girls who really put on the show up there.
Now, what about our teams like Tachyon? Tachyon normally brings the show. So how'd they look this year?
Tachyon had some decent relays in the older age groups, which qualified, and 15-16 girls made it through in the 4x4, but they're a little banged up. They've got some, almost everybody has a nick here, a nick there, so they were a little banged up, but they still were able to get through to the top 5.
Now, one of their athletes, and her name fleets me right now, high school athletes really didn't have a real good high school season. I saw her kind of take a back door. I think she did run in the state meet, one of their better athletes, but she didn't run high school this year. What's the news there? Have you talked to any of the coaches over there just to see how?
I've had some conversation with the coaches, and apparently some of the high school coaches wanted to do some things to enhance her strength and flexibility in certain areas, and she pulled a little something within her hip. So, it wasn't a great big injury, but they definitely wanted to be on the safe side, so they just set her out. She's just a sophomore, so she's got a couple of big years remaining. So, just didn't want to aggravate anything. But she's been able to run a little bit in the summer, still nagging just a bit, but she's got a couple more weeks to rest, and we'll see what happens in Greensboro.
Okay, so normally they Tachyon really sets the tempo. I remember a couple years ago in Wichita, it must have been like 115 degrees out in Wichita, but they just set it off. I remember I think was the 13, 14-year-old girls. Now they've kind of moved up to the 15, 16, and 17, 18-year-old range, and I don't see that same level of dominance. And, I always ask, where's that transition? I know you've been in the youth side for a long time. Where do you see that transition from that 13, 14, 15, 16? What's that challenge when they move up?
And that is a real good question, Ian, because that challenge does exist. And you can see it in the meet this weekend. Some of those girls who are 15, who are 16, 2 years ago they were running 54 in the 400 meters, but, unable to run that fast at this level. A lot of things mentally and physically happen to you when you get to high school. Puberty really sets in pretty tough, and your body changes a bit. A lot of mental pressures on you that weren't on you before. But there's a lot of things that contribute to that. And what you have to do, you have to stay fundamentally sound. You have to work through it, through the physical limitations, through the mental limitations. And if you work through that and continue on, by the time you get to the young women's age group, you can move forward.
Now, I've been looking for, talking about one of those athletes, Mackenzie Dunmore. Where is Mackenzie Dunmore?
Mackenzie Dunmore, unfortunately, is injured again. I hadn't talked to her coaches, but I know at the association meet, at the national qualifying meet, she was kind of went through the motions and didn't really get it done. So I don't know if she's shut down for the season or not, but obviously not going to JOs. Didn't go to Edwardsville.
So she wasn't at the region then either.
There. Right, wasn't at the region, wasn't at Edwardsville. So obviously something wrong there. Hopefully she'll be able to get through it. She was really a very talented young lady with a physical specimen, great size, great speed. Really look forward to her really turning it out. She's got 3 more years of high school. She was just a freshman, so we're not in a hurry. Just want to make sure that she makes it through.
Now, has she stayed with her high school coach and that team, or is she going to stay with Tobiette Simmons and stay with her junior Olympic team?
She's working out with her junior Olympic team now. She's been there for quite a number of years. She was there when she wasn't a great athlete, when she was just learning and understanding the game. And I guess there's a sense of loyalty there for the people who have bring her to this point.
No, and
I like to see that kind of thing.
I do too. I'm not big in club hopping because I don't think there's the greater pot of gold on the other side of the rainbow, and I always see inconsistency with those kids that seem to jump from club to club to club. I'm definitely not a proponent of that.
Right.
And
but there is. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say. You and I discussed this on a previous show that definitely the club hopping thing just doesn't work. And go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, and I'm just going to concur with you on that part. It always seems to be a mental letdown sometimes when kids change clubs. And sometimes it's good for the parents and in the parents' eyesight. And it may be a good move, but there always is a mental transition there for somebody to go from one coach they've been with for a while and teammates they've had for a while to go and try to do the same thing somewhere else. It takes a little transition period, sometimes a whole year. I've seen it take a whole year for kids to do that.
Hey, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt that there is a reason? Is there any reason that you would say this is a good opportunity to leave? What would you say would be a good opportunity to leave or look for another club?
If your events change or you become very good in a certain event, and sometimes some coaches cannot maybe help you get to that other level. But sometimes I had a situation where I had a young lady that was with me from the time she was 7 until she was about 16. And although we had a good coach-athlete relationship, it almost was a father-daughter type of relationship. So she really needed to make a change and go somewhere else where it was more of a coach-athlete, kind of hard. And I think that worked out pretty well for everyone involved.
Now, in that particular case, I know because typically when you put on that whistle or put on those shoes as coach, you are required to be almost like a father or a lawyer or a doctor, not only to the athletes but to the parents. Have you found that's changing now, or what are the challenges out there?
Parents need more now. There used to be as much hand-holding with the parents, but the parents have become more knowledgeable, so they need more. So as a coach, you have to give them more. And I've always been able to do that kind of thing. And I've always told parents when they're dealing with the high school coaches, find out what the plan is. Coach has to have some type of plan for an athlete, not just a week plan or a month plan, either a season plan, sometimes a multi-year plan that we're going to have. And I've always been able to put those type of things together and think that those are very important. You know, you got a lot of people out here who call themselves trainers who have these fast plans, and sometimes they can get by the parents because the parents just want more. They just want more attention, and they have to understand the game is not checkers; it's chess, and you have to be very strategic in how you handle the athletes these days because there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake when it comes to scholarship money. And that's the big thing right there. Everybody wants the scholarship money. You know, they spent so much money on track over the years, they could have saved that money and sent the kids to school for free.
Definitely. Now, let me ask you this. Fast forward. Greensboro is coming up. So what do we expect in Greensboro for some of our kids? Who do you think from our group here in Georgia has a great opportunity to sit on top of that podium?
We're going to do some good things in Georgia, but before we go in, I have to talk about the fastest girl at the meet this past weekend. Was a 14-year-old girl. And you know, just like we talked about, sometimes the 14-year-olds are so fast, and they're not able to bring that forward. But this young lady's from Florida, from Miami, actually, named Simone Mason, and she blazed the track this week. The track wasn't a particularly fast track. You know, it wasn't a great surface. She was running against a 2.0 win and went 11:89 in an amazing race, in a big race against Tia Jones and Candace Hill. And she was clearly the class of the field out there this weekend because she came back in the 200 against a negative 3 win and ran 23:85.
Amazing. So she beat Tia Jones, and so Tia Jones was dethroned.
Tia Jones, once again, she's at the bottom of the age group, so she's got a lot of room to grow. She's clearly the fastest 13-year-old in the country, and stepping up against these 14-year-olds it's tough to do. It's tough to do, but you know, she still was able to finish second in both races at the bottom of the age group. And I expect her to go to Greensboro and do some big things in the sprints as well as the hurdles. She dominated both sprint hurdle events once again, and she's going to do very well. She's already been below the national record in both of the sprint hurdle events, but she's going to do very well in those.
So
look forward to seeing that in Greensboro.
You think there's going to be a little get back by Tia Jones? She's amassed a pretty good win-loss record here. So, you know, will that pride? Do we have a rivalry brewing here, Florida, Georgia? You know, just like they have in football. It sounds like we got a rivalry here, you know. Because
I had that conversation with somebody this week. I was asking about the people in Florida. I said, look, it's Florida, Georgia. And don't you look at the game in Jacksonville every year? There's no love lost.
There is no love lost. I was in a meeting today, and there were some Florida grads and Georgia grads. And, man, I could hear those quips coming. So I almost felt like this was Georgia-Florida week. So, and, of course, you know, I felt good as being the president going down there and watching our kids do their thing, putting it down and slap some people around. But
they did their thing. But once again, when you get to Greensboro, you know, all bets are off. You know, it's going to be tough. Kids from all around the country, California, New York, the teams in the Midwest are very good. It's going to be very, very hard to call. I know we'll be on the radio show. We'll be talking about it throughout the week, I'm sure. Looking forward to some great conversations during that week as we see what's going on. But that's going to be a great show. It'll be live on the internet, so people get an opportunity to see that. But it's going to be some great situations. I'm looking for some Georgia athletes. Tia Jones is going to do well. Micah Abernathy, some of our relays going to do very well. Alan Fry, if he decides to go, he may go straight to school. He may not be able to make it to the Nationals. And he's going to do well. Some of our younger kids, Tyler Matson, is the defending champion at 10 under boys 400. He had a hard battle down there in Florida. Florida won't try to give us nothing, that's for sure.
And I'm quite sure Mike Judge's kids will do very well in the throws. He typically has at least a couple podium-level kids every year, so I'm looking forward to some of those kids.
Yes, he does. He really does. There'll be some great relays going on down there. Don't know if any of our relays are quite at that level. Tachyon girls went 4:48, but you got to go about 4:41, 4:39 in order to do well in that age group.
Now,
Jada Martin just kind of cruised through the weekend, just getting to the national. I'm sure she's going to be deep into some training cycles, getting ready for that as she gets ready to go to LSU this fall. So there's going to be some good things going on. Hopefully, Robert can do well in the 15-16 boys 400-meter hurdles. Have him posted at 54 this weekend.
Okay.
That might make some noise.
So now, what about let's dial back to some of our kids. Of course, I always have that great interest in Quicksilver. Denzel Harper. How'd Denzel do this weekend?
Denzel qualified for Greensboro. I thought he did very well. He PR'd in the 400-meter hurdles. I think he got a bad start on that first hurdle in the 110, and he wasn't able to recover from that. But he went 58 low in the 400-meter hurdles this weekend, and he's just a dangerous guy. You can't. 15 is a tough age. I used to think 13 was a tough age dealing with those 14-year-olds, and it is, but 15 is really a tough age group for boys. If you look across the board, it's tough at the Nationals for any 15-year-old to make the final. And most of those sprint events, it's really tough. So, and he's there. He's going to do very well. He's got 3 more years to go. He's going to do very well.
Now, would you say the association is reloading? Because I haven't seen that dominant force. We've got a history of great athletes that have just come through, and they come in waves. The Christian Taylors, the Antonio McKay Juniors, the what's your kid, the 300-meter hurdler, Trey Charles back in the day. And we can go on and on. Milton Campbell. We can go to a lot of athletes that have come through the channel. But it seems like we're reloading today because nobody's really set themselves apart like they have normally. I know Eric Merriweather's kids, like Jada Martin, she's just been a soldier. She's been consistent. She's performed. But do you think this is a reload year?
We've had, I believe, in the last 5-6 years, kind of a lull in our high school group. And you can see that during the high school season, as there's not any really huge performances, maybe 1 or 2 here and there, but not like across the board like we've seen. And perhaps we've been spoiled with that, but I believe it's going to come back again. The summer clubs are really loading up, and I believe our 15 and under groups, there are just some fantastic athletes in those groups, 15 through 10, and we'll see how they're being nurtured and if they can come up in a positive situation and not get too caught up in what they're doing now and understand that the important thing is the future. I think you could have some super athletes in that 15 and under age group in the next 3 or 4 years. Just fantastic athletes.
Now, what about our 17, 18-year-olds? It seemed like that age group, when I was watching them down in Florida, had thinned out. The density is not there. The quality is there, but the density is not there. I know, like Kendall Williams, obviously, she's special. She's one of those 10-year athletes. I know she's going on to World Juniors, and I know she's going probably Junior Olympics later on this summer. But what is it that's knocking out or thinning out our older age groups, our 17, 18-year-olds?
Well, the good ones, like the Kendalls, the Ryan Clarks, they're competing at such a high level that we may not see them in some of these qualifying events because they're going to get automatic buys. And we'll see them in Greensboro for sure. And Ryan's going over to the Ukraine. Kenny Selman, who's also in the age group, he's going over to the Ukraine. Cindy Williams will make the junior team. She'll be going over to Columbia later on in the summer after the Nationals. So those kind of athletes, you either got them that are good or just super good. And those that are super good, you won't see them at the qualifying events. We saw Alan Fry, who's been 51 to 400 meter hurdles. He's a very, very strong hurdler, but little technique issues here and there, but still very, very strong. And it just runs with a lot of heart, a lot of fire. Darius Statham does very well in the sprint, so for sprint athletics. So we've got some there, but it's not as best. The quality of the talent from 1 through 8 is not what it used to be. They're not fighting as hard, but they're still fighting.
Now, what would you say that we, as coaches, need to do to take that next step up and get Georgia back on the map? I mean, last year or the last Olympic cycle, incredible, lights out. Kids on both stages, our adult kids, our masters athletes, our open athletes, there, bang. Now we've got retirement looming. Terrence Trammell, Angelo Taylor, Adam Nelson. All those guys now are on the other end of their career. How are we going to get the next set of those guys and girls in the queue?
Well, as with anything within the culture and within any type of discipline, it's about education. It's about education. We've got to educate these coaches and these parents to understand the long haul, to have decade-long plans. If you're going to start kids this early, if you're going to start them as early as we're starting them, then we have to come up with a different plan. It has to be a different training mindset. It's not like you get a great athlete right at puberty, 13, 14, 12, and move from there. They're starting much earlier. So we have to, I don't think that they have the knowledge that they think they have. We have to educate these parents, educate these coaches on how to take care of these athletes for the long haul and not get so caught up in, I want to win the gold medal at the Nationals at 9, at 8, at 10. We got a little 6-year-old boy from Georgia that went down to the primary meet down in Florida and set all kind of national records for a 6-year-old. I mean, this guy is amazing. A little guy named CD. He is an amazing little sprinter. I mean, he's already been, are you ready? He's already been like 111 at 400 meters.
Incredible.
I don't know what he went to reach. Incredible, but he's 6. So how do you nurture an athlete like that? In some of the Eastern Bloc countries back in the day, they would have took him and moved him in and raised him like that. But obviously, we don't do that here. But how do you educate those coaches and those parents to ensure that he has longevity with his talents there, not just burn out or physically or more importantly mentally. So there's some things that we need to do probably as an association to create more literature and get that literature out there, have more training sessions for the coaches, not just and this is how you coach, but here's the mental aspect of what's going on. This is how they have some athletes come in and talk about how they were mentally broken down over so many years of competing and practicing. So there's a lot of things that we can do there to help these kids.
Man, I love that idea because we never get the input from the athletes. So incredible. That's a great idea, Tony. I love that idea. And I take you up on that challenge to get the athletes right there moving and get us in front of it. Whatever happened to, and bring them in there and say, why did you fall out of love with the sport?
Right. That's true. I mean, we have so many athletes who were national record holders at an early age group. By the time they got to high school, was not running at all. I mean, either their bodies were too messed up from puberty or too much competing. I don't know. Some studies need to be done on how we are affecting these athletes by doing so much at an early age.
No, I agree. I mean, I think that's such an important topic that you don't want to get the Todd Marinoviches out there. There's enough of those guys out there that, had the talent, and the coaches or the athletes or the parents burned them out, and then all of a sudden they're gone from the sport. And we no longer have those treasures to view. But I do want to say this. What is your thoughts in regards to the upcoming championship? I asked you earlier, and we kind of drifted away, but let's get back on task about who do you think are the athletes to watch in Greensboro in the next couple of weeks? Who's going to...
Like I said, I expect Kendall to be in Greensboro. I expect Ryan Clark to be there. They will definitely be fun to watch from that older age group. Kendall in hurdles, she'll probably do some field events. She's been a 6-foot high jumper, and she's a gamer. So these are the type of meets that she really gets up for and really loves to put on performance for everyone. Can't wait to see her in that situation. Ryan Clark, he's been 46. Last year he's been 46. He's really trying to go 46 low this year. Could see some special things from him. There are other athletes out around the country who have been faster, who may be at the top of the age group, a little older than him. So we'll see some great things from them. There's some great sprinters. A couple of guys out of Texas, one out of New York, who was been under 10-4. So, we'll get an opportunity to see them as well. Some of the younger kids, of course, Tia Jones is going to put on a marvelous show in those hurdles. And is definitely going to come and compete in the 100 and 200 meter sprints. 13, 14, always a devastating age group. We had a young guy, unfortunately, he won't be in Greensboro. I know, but just to mention, we had a young guy, 14, who I personally witnessed go 10:68 a couple of weeks ago. So he's going to be in the pipeline coming up. So it's going to be some great meets, some younger kids, the 10-year-old boys. The 10-year-old boys, really very tough. Last year, we had several bottom of the age group 10-year-old boys run great times last year in the sprint. So it's going to be Tyler Matson from Georgia being one, and there's a couple other guys around the country. It's going to be great to see how they compete in Greensboro.
So
it's going to be some really great races.
So we really have a lot of veteran kids who've really run at a high level for a while. Now, do you see any of them breaking down in championship, or do we have enough competition between what goes on in Georgia and obviously the region competition to carry that momentum into Greensboro and hold that mental peak as well as a physical peak?
I have a coach that I know in Tennessee. He runs a club out of Memphis, the Memphis Mustangs, and he said we just run way too much down here. So in Georgia, he comes down here a couple times a year just to get in some great competition because we know we're going to be there. Everybody's going to be in place. We're going to be running hard, but we run a lot of meets here, and there's a lot of competition here, and we don't mind venturing out. There's a big meet in Florida this weekend. We'll be there in mass from the state of Georgia, getting it in. So we run a lot of meets here, a lot of competition. Of course, there's always a chance for someone to get to the Nationals and kind of have too many butterflies to perform. But we really get a lot of that in during the season here. A lot of that butterfly killing goes in during the season here because it's tough to make it out. It's tough to make it out of Georgia.
Absolutely.
So if you're one of those ones that get out, then you are managing your butterflies pretty well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think we're really deep, everything except the distance. And, what is it that we can get, or how can we help that distance group? Because we got a good cross-country program. We got good participation. But when I look at what's produced out there, Tony, I didn't see anything. I didn't see our distance runners really doing their thing this year. Nobody really had that breakout distance crew. I know Walter Pinion normally has a good group of athletes that he works with, but this year it's kind of dull. I mean, what are you seeing out there?
I see a couple of very good distance athletes. One of the girls over at Quicksilver, Tatiana Hotnet, she Went 2:15 this weekend pretty easily. She's trying to go in that longer distance, the 1,500, but having a little trouble there. The Baker twins keep teaming up on her. Every time they see her, they'll go back and forth with her. But makes for some great theater in some 1,500 meter races. But she's going to do very well, I believe. I believe she's going to be able to go much faster at 800. Those 1,500s are making her stronger, and she's going to do very well out there.
Well, you know, we always love to hear "Go Quicksilver."
Well, that's Tatiana certainly a gem, and I look forward to watching her run every time I get an opportunity to. You know, we don't have the breakout middle distance or distance runners that we've seen in the past, but we're certainly going to throw some numbers at them and see if we can team up on them a little bit.
Are you seeing that trend, them not running summer track, and that trend to have them start getting their mileage up in the summer and competing in cross country? Are you seeing that type of trend?
That's always been a part. I don't know if it's a trend. It's always been a part of it. Some people just don't do the summers well around the track. Some people rather run, you know, through the woods and the cross country. I can get that, but I see the trend actually changing, and we're going to get more of those cross country runs out there for track. But track adds a lot different pressure than cross country does. And a lot of people don't want that pressure. You cross country, you can go in the woods, you can do some things, can't nobody see you. You know, it's a lot less pressure. The pressure of competing, but a lot less of that other pressure than when you're on the oval and everybody's watching every step you take. That's a little bit different pressure. I've seen some 12-year-old girls who I know have been big cross-country runners over the last several years, been on that oval this summer, and one girl in particular, only 11, and I'm the first one to say she's only 11. Forget about it. Don't even worry about it. But a little young lady named Maya Hernandez, I watched her in cross country just be so dominant last fall, and finally get to see her on the oval this year. She's really coming to her own. At the bottom of the age group, won at 12-year-old 1,500. 12-year-old 3,000, and got second in the 1,500. So the trend may be changing. Maybe getting a little bit more people on the track, understanding that there's some, pretty good money out there for distance runners.
Right. Professionally, they make the bulk of the money because they're in road races, and that's where the pay is. More than just, more than the guys make on the track, unless you're the, the world's fastest athlete. So I don't know what we can do to showcase some of our talented and very talented distance athletes, because right now I think our density is low. I don't see teams like Northside Red Runners. They've been out there traditionally year over year after year. This year they're not running track and field. I haven't seen the Peachtree City Flash out there in masses like they are in cross country. So we have a few teams out there missing in action that typically bring a good squad of distance athletes. And it's kind of concerning, and maybe we need to sit down and do a town hall meeting and find out, what's stopping them from running track, because obviously, in college, they want more than just cross-country runners. They need guys and girls to go out there and be able to run on that track. That's where the money is. It's not in cross-country. They're not giving just cross-country scholarships.
Yeah, I've talked to some of the guys, and they just have such a love for cross-country. It's and you have a lot of coaches who love cross-country, a lot of parents who love it. So there's a lot of influence out there toward that end. But it's just a situation where they just want to be ready. It's such a team concept with cross country, more so than with track, because it's one race. Everybody's on a team, everybody's running the same distance, and you add up your points, and that's who wins. So it's a little bit different from a team standpoint and representation of your school. So that's why it gets a little bit more love. Then you're in track, and you're running the 3,200 or the 1,600, and now you got to wait and see what everybody else does, and all these other events getting all the more publicity. So so it's kind of, a lot of people frown away from it and stick to that cross country. You can develop a real love for cross country.
Well, Tony,
I love cross country myself. You get out there early on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, you're home.
Do I hear 5K in your future?
I ran a lot of 5Ks over the years. I ran a lot of 5Ks, a lot of road races. And I was in high school. I was a half mile, a mile, or 2 miles. Same thing in the Marine Corps. So I got a lot of 5Ks under my belt. Not many lately. I don't think any in the future either.
I'll just say we don't have time. We're busy doing our other things and contributing to track and field. And, now that, what do they call you? You're the voice of track and field in the state, or what is your title now?
Well, I don't really get into titles. I just try to get out there and bring a extra level of excitement to what I see is very exciting. Every time you step on the track and you're mano trying to beat somebody else in an event, there's just a tremendous rush for me, and I like to make sure that I pass that rush off onto the crowd. So,
well, and it's funny because I remember one gentleman said that you were such a calming voice in a sea of confusion when they had a thunderstorm out in Mill Creek a couple of years. You're almost like the voice of God, calming everybody down. And I was like, I said, oh my God, I got to tell him that story. So maybe we can float him out of here because his head will be that big. But Tony, thank you. I decided to call the show Inside the Oval. So everything transpires inside the oval, all the races, all the curve races, all the throws. So you're inside the oval with Tony Dunning and Ian Dubé. And, Tony, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this question. I'm coming back at you. You know what it's going to be. Tia Jones, Kendall Williams, 13 years old.
Well, I would like to mention that I went to a dinner the other day hosted by Gatorade and USA Today for Kendall Williams, and she was named the Girls National High School Athlete of the Year. So I think that's what's important, those kind of accolades, those kind of inspiring things. And I took some other athletes with me because those kind of things are inspiring. Somebody that you know so closely to win an award so huge like that, I think is really more important than what anybody can do in a foot race. And let's just pray and hope that Tia can maintain and continue to get better and be that inspiring to others. It's not just about going out there and being fast and winning races. You need to be in a position to inspire others. And I think that's what great athletes do. They don't, they play great sports, do great things on the track, but those kind of things can be inspirational if done the right way. And I think that's what's important here. So right now, most inspirational is Kendall.
That it is, because I went to the high school earlier that day, and it was, man, did you see the trophy that she got to carry out? It's like the track Heisman. So I took some pictures of her while she was posing. Man, it was a great event. It was a great event. There was a good following of people there at her school, and Blaine invited me there. And I told him that I was going to ask you Tia Jones at 13 or Kendall Williams at 13, and it was kind of but it's good to be able to talk about that.
Tia's done things that no 13-year-old has done. But once again, Kendall Williams is a gamer. She really gets up for the moment. And that's what a lot of kids, and that's what's inspiring about her. She gets up for the moment, and a lot of kids need to try to understand that. It is not just the moments on the track, but there's moments in life, when you have to take that final. You have to take that bar exam. You have to try to take that CPA exam. And there's other opportunities in your life that when the moment comes, you have to step up. So, I think that's the inspiration that we all need to hold on to.
Well, I'm sure looking forward to driving that 78 miles to Athens, Georgia, and seeing her freshman year. And you know what, man, her brother is coming along fine. Man, I've seen that guy compete, and he seems like, he never got the accolades. There always reminded me of Cheryl Miller and Reggie Miller, right? He scored 30 and she scored 100. She scored 100. But I'm starting to see him come along, man. He's grown. He's got that perfect height. Some of those events that I've seen over the years, he's gotten a little bit better, and definitely got to give the coaches over at Georgia a lot of credit for working with him, because I think in the next 3 years they're going to have a good crop of Hep Deck kids that are going to set the world on fire, especially at the NCAA level.
I certainly do agree. Devin's always been a very good athlete. He got caught up in the whole puberty situation and just not working and improving the way he should have. But now college has another focus, and I knew he would do very well. So I'm not surprised at what he's capable of doing. I can remember when he won the pentathlon national championship at 11. So, not that means you're going to be great, but it certainly does if you stick to it and you stay humble and you stay inspired and try to be inspirational, then you're going to have some great things happen.
Plus, man, just to be honest with you, do you think you can walk in there and say, man, your sister's better than you? That's a lot of pressure on a guy.
That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure on a young man. That's a lot of pressure on a young man when your younger sister is so good.
Exactly. So you definitely. So I look at it as the Cheryl Miller, Reggie Miller kind of deal, where she's putting up 100, he's putting up 30, and comes home and say, "Hey, I hit 30 tonight." Okay, good, and I hit 100.
I remember that back then. But Reggie surprised everybody. He continued to get better and better. Ended up having such a great career.
Definitely. Tony, well, thank you very much for giving us a breakdown of Region 4. I look forward to some shows walking in. I really want to get Tia Jones on the line and yak it up with her and her parents and her coach, I guess, all in one. I think she's probably one of our futuristic kids. I'd like to get Jada Martin on here before she moves on to the NCAA level, and I'd like to sit down and find that athlete that had everything, had all the tools, and got down and got burned out and walked away. It would be great to just sit down and pick that athlete's brain and talk about what happened.
Right.
So,
as well as the parent as well.
Oh, definitely. So I'm going to be out there beating the streets, trying to find those athletes and put them together. And I definitely want you back on the show, and because your wealth of knowledge. You always seem to be very passionate about the sport, and we need more people to have the same level of passion so this sport can be a household name. Tony, you're off the hook. Thank you very much.
Once again.
We'll be talking to you soon, and safe travels down to Orlando to the AAU championship there.
Well, thank you for having me on here. I look forward to chopping it up with you again in Greensboro.
Cheers.
Hope we get an opportunity to set up a booth and work through that and talk to quite a few people.
Well, will you be announcing there? Because if not, definitely I will bring the mobile oval, and we'll sit in the oval, and we will sit down and talk about track and field. I'd love to get a few of our athletes right there on the spot, right as they win, wearing that Georgia pride and saying, hey, here we are.
Fantastic. Sounds great.
All right, Tony, have a great day. Thank you very much. Until next time, cheers.
Until next time.